is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and this is it. This is our top 10 games of all time, and Brad and I are finishing out our top 100 games of all time for the year of 2020. This is going to be, obviously the top 10 is definitely the best segment out of all of them, just because it's if we had to pick 10 games, these are pretty much the 10 that we would probably pick. If our house was on fire, we'd probably run in and omit wife, kids, and pets just to grab these games.
I don't know if I could carry all of it.
I could probably. It'd be heavy. So I have two new games in my top 100 this year, or in my top 10. My top, and two games rose, which is great, and then most of them fell. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, mine is I have 4 brand new games to my top or to this list. I have three that dropped, 1 that went up, and 2 that stayed the same.
All right. This is going to be exciting. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 10 game of all time. And last year it was number 7. So 3 spots, but it's still in the top 10. And this is by far the best game that this company has made and probably will continue to make. They seem to just kind of flop around with other ideas. But this one's amazing, and that is Black Rose Wars. This is a fantastic game about mages that are going to become the new headmaster or archmage of the Black Rose Guild. There was a lot going on in this game, and now I finally have all my Kickstarter stuff, which made it to where I think there's like 20 different schools of Magic, and each of those cards in that deck are they have and when you cast it, you actually pick which one that you want to do. So you have some flexibility with the spells, because on your turn you prep them, and you're not on your turn. At the beginning of your turn, you prep the spells, and then on your turn you cast them in a particular way, almost like a slight programming element. Each tile for the arena, which now there's a shit ton of tiles, have something unique about them. And what's great about this game is that it has a bunch, the adrenaline mechanic, where it's like as you deal damage to someone, whoever has the most damage will get the more points for doing it. Now, it's not quite like adrenaline where you diminish in value, but that's okay, because it's not, you're going for the most points at the end of the game. It's not based off of like a point pool.
Right.
So it's a really unique idea. You also can collect people's trophies for endgame victory points. What's great about this is the game is never overly long, because there's multiple ways. There's essentially a endgame spot. Once someone hits this spot, then the game's over. But there's a Black Rose token that also moves. So that's essentially the timer if people aren't doing well in gathering points. The sheer amount of content for this game is immaculate. You can play in so many different ways, like fight in many different ways. And what's great with the newest expansion, not the newest expansion, the rest of the Wave 2 stuff, it basically gave you new cards for all the decks, like all the brand new cards for the new schools, those are all there. But for the original schools, it actually gave you new cards with different terminology and rebalancing the decks, because destruction was pretty gross. This game is just so much fun. Weirdly works with 3 when you wouldn't think it would, but I would still say 4 is probably the best. The different schools, they now have blood magic, they have Cthulhu, they have transmutation, they have conspiracy, they have time. It's just, that's 6, and I'm missing a shit ton. They have Bard, like a bunch of different schools here. So I was entranced by this game whenever I first played it, and it's still stuck around the top 10. So that's my number 10, Black Rose Wars.
All right. Yeah, that one has always looked cool, but I knew I probably would never get it to the table, so that's why I really haven't pursued it at all.
Yeah. No, I don't see you ever playing this game.
Yeah. All right, my number 10 was on either your last list or the one before. I can't remember. It was number 9 2 years ago, and it was number 8 last year. So it just kind of hangs out right around this spot. And that's
Nice.
Mansions of Madness Second Edition.
That was my number 23.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was the last segment or not. But yeah, this one is much better than the first edition. Obviously, that was a hot garbage.
It was not. It was not hot garbage. It was great for the time.
Well, the one versus many, and it just, yeah, I don't know. It's got it had.
I like one versus many games.
Well, I do too. If it's balanced correctly. But anyway, this one utilizes the app. So much stuff available for this one, as far as their downloadable content, everything. I mean, the game for this is better than like Journeys of Middle Earth. The app for Journeys of Middle Earth is a little bit better.
Yeah.
But this one just outshines that one by a lot, just because the theme is cool. When I have the opportunity, I play this game by running a computer through my television. So that it's big and I have the sound going. It has all the like sounds, background sounds, and everything. And this is just one of those games with the sheer amount of characters and all the scenarios and how different scenarios, especially the more stuff you add, the more replayable the game is, because different things can pop out at different times. They have, God, I haven't even tried that really long mission yet.
That's the 6-hour one.
Yeah, I haven't even attempted that one, but I bet it's a blast because you're walking all over that town, aren't you, or something like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, this one is a really good Lovecraft themed game. Like you said, you have that really big mansions carrying case, but it's annoying because of the one expansion. That's what keeps me from buying that thing. I've tried many times because I have so many boxes of this game everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't get the Path of the Serpent expansion, then it's fine.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of hoping maybe they do try to do some sort of an additive or something, but I don't think they really can crate.
Well, they've done it before.
With a crate, though, I mean, I know they've done box inserts.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure they could figure something out.
Yeah, it's really the one negative about this game that I forgot to mention it when I was talking about it is the minis. Like, they're trash, and they don't fit on the bases, and the bases don't fit snugly into those, or like the tokens don't fit snugly into that, so they slide out. So it's like you could almost just omit the minis altogether and just do the old Arkham Horror, Eldritch Horror, and just have the tokens, because at least there you get the art with it as well.
Yeah.
And it's not fiddly to have those, like, trying to move them and then they fall. It's like, this is annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With this, though, I mean, you know, it's having that app and being able to not see, it's almost like a fog of war kind of thing. You don't know what's on the other side of the door. You know, you pop in, it shows you the tile, and then it populates it, and you just put the stuff out there. It's got that true exploration sense to it, just because you really don't know what's behind those doors, and stuff. But yeah, I mean, this one has been pretty solid the last few years, right in the same exact area.
Nice. Yeah.
I don't see it necessarily changing drastically anytime soon either.
All right. Good choice. Yeah, it rose for me this year, so that's good. One spot, but still. All right. Yeah, the 4-hour one is the 4 to 6 hour one is called Rising Tide, and it actually came with the base game.
Oh yeah.
So it's a fun one. All right. My number 9 was number 8 last year and number 9 in 2018. So it's just kind of boop, boop. And it is, I cannot wait for the new standalone expansion that this game is spawning. This is probably my favorite. I guess it's probably my horror game. I guess some of the other ones are horror, but this is more grotesque, and it feels very much like an amalgamation of a bunch of different things. Like they did a bunch of homages to, which I love, and that is Deep Madness. Deep Madness is a extremely difficult but unique cooperative game where the setting is you are in an underwater a facility. So think of the movie, I think it was called Underwater with Kristen Stewart. It came out early in January. And the game is a campaign of sorts. You play different scenarios that the narrative connects to one another, but you don't like progress. Each scenario you can play someone completely different. So basically everyone has a character that has a special ability with them, and then specific items. But what's great about this game is they have three mechanisms that I very much enjoy. One is the terror, in that as the game progresses, the tiles will flip over and they become like some of them will be covered in like this horrific gore, and like it's all disgusting. The computers are all shattered and covered in this muscle and skin, and those are spawning terror tokens, which will affect the different spots that you're in, as well as it will put a spawn point for these different monsters to spawn. But as the game progresses, the tiles that aren't like that will eventually flip over. So eventually no space is safe for you to go, and you will slowly start to descend into madness, because you will gain, similar to Arkham Horror, where you have a sanity track and a health track. The sanity is actually something that you can use, but every time you kill a monster, if it has a sanity value, if you have sanity tokens, they get flipped to madness tokens. And if you have 3 madness, you discard those and you get a madness card, which is horrific and just debilitating to the character. Then they also have the mechanism of flooding, because it is underwater. Water is going to be in the facility because shit has hit the fan. And you have a oxygen dial, so whenever you go into the water, each action you do will cost you oxygen, and eventually if you stay in water too long, then you will start taking damage. It is such an intense thematic game. I love this world. They actually released a book. Someone wrote a book. It's weird. It's not like it's not paper. Like the pages aren't paper. They're that almost like rule book material. It's extremely weird how they did the pages, but the writing isn't horrible, which you would expect it to almost be, because it's like, well, they're not an author. Like, because how sometimes whenever you read stuff in a board game, you're like, oh, the way you write dialogue reminds people it's really hard to write dialogue. So it's actually not too bad. I'm kind of into it. And then one of my favorite things about this game, besides the sheer amount of different creatures and characters that you can play as, is that the way the turn order works is each character is linked to a monster. And all that really means is that, okay, I'm going to go, then this monster is going to go, then Brad's going to go, then this monster is going to go, and it's going to go back and forth. So if I'm linked to a monster and we kill the last one, well, then I go, there's no monsters to go. And then so you can be efficient. You can see who's going to go where, and who's and how can we maximize our cooperation whenever trying to deal with these horrific monsters. It is amazing. I very much like this game. I mean, it hit my top 10 2 years ago, and it's continued to stay up there just because I really like this theme and how everything works. So that's my number 9, Deep Madness.
Yeah, I want to try this one at some point. I had the opportunity to buy a whole Kickstarter deal, but it was pretty expensive. So
it is kind of pricey. The Dawn of Madness stuff to go all in, I think, was around 400 as well.
Yeah.
This is one of those companies that came back later and actually made. You can't see it because it's over there. They actually made two big boxes, big storage boxes. One is for all the tiles, all the tokens, and everything else, and then the other one is the what do they call it, the monstrum, where it was unfortunate because it wasn't like the vacuum sealed, but it was the foam where you had to rip out the pieces.
Fluff foam.
Yeah, but I will take that over nothing because I was storing them in bags. So I'll easily take anything like that over nothing. So they actually came out and did that. I don't know if they automatically did it with Dawn of Madness. I would hope so, but I didn't really.
You would think.
You would think.
Yeah.
So, and they're actually the company that's making the Twisted Fables game, like the Gothic fighting game with the Fables. So I mean, they're kind of a company to keep an eye out. This one is amazing. So
yeah. Yeah, I'll give it a shot for sure. All right, my number 9 is brand new to the list. It might just be one of the most strategic games on this list and complex. You don't have anything except for the storage container for it.
Oh,
and that is
cool.
Too Many Bones.
Nice.
This game, you know, I got the opportunity to buy a collection off of somebody. I spent a pretty penny because I got every single thing for it. But this game just kind of caught me by surprise, you know, because I'd seen it a lot and I saw it had really cool, you know, playmat material. Everything was playmat material or dice or really heavy poker chips. It was touted as a completely waterproof game. If you watch a couple of different reviewers, they just
I think was this the one where shut up and sit down, poured water?
Yeah, he poured water, and there was another one that the guy threw everything into like a bathtub full of water and everything and stuff. It was like, you know,
the neoprene mats aren't technically waterproof. They're water resistant.
Yeah, I don't know, but anyway, so this game, it's a really pretty complex. They call it a dice builder RPG because you're going to have a playmat material mat for your character. And they're going to have their starting dice. You're going to place the dice. All of the play mats have like cut out places for where the dice go. So the dice sit in there nicely. So you get to move around your dice and you can upgrade your attack strength, your defense, stuff like that. You can, all the characters are completely like totally different from each other. They all are completely unique. And there's on the right side of their player mat will be like it's like a skill tree almost, like you're going to be placing dice and moving dice and unlocking more skills or unlocking more cool stuff. The race that you're playing are called Gearlocks. They're almost like hobbits, I guess. I mean, they're smaller than normal. I mean, you know, just picture like, you know, not like small people, you know. But you know, the core box has a guy named like I think Boomer, and that one deals with all these explosions and what's that?
I said another guy named Diddles.
Oh no,
just all these weird ass hobbit names.
But that little guy with the horned helmet, I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. Tantrum. But he you build up his anger as he's going and then he just unleashes. You know, but how you battle with this game is there's a little battle mat that has circle deals for your chips, and it's really small. It's like, so this is where the puzzle comes in, because what you're going to do when you play this game is there's a world map that you're traveling, so you choose which kind of a campaign, I guess, that you want to do, and it'll range anywhere from I think the short one is like 8 battles, and I think the long one's like 12 or 14. I can't remember, but
okay.
So you work your way through this map traveling. There's going to be events, encounter cards that pop up, different events that happen. So you make choices along the way that will do stuff. You'll gain items and all this stuff, but you randomly will battle these groups, and it'll tell you what to bring out. So when you battle, it'll say like maybe like 2 level 1s and a level 2 monster. So you have to pull those out, and then it'll tell you how much health they have, so that you put health chips underneath it. So it kind of stacks up like, like think of Cloudspire, any of these chip theory games type things. And then they set up on that board, and then you move around that really tight board, and you're just trying to kill them before they kill you. But it's very strategic because all those chips have all these specialized powers that everybody, like the bad guys have these special powers that do different stuff. But what you're doing is you're going through all these battles, and you're working your way to the tyrant at the very end, which is the big boss character that you're kind of building up to take on, which they're generally pretty big badasses, One of them is like an octopus that has all these tentacle tokens. So it's just like one boss where the head is, and then there's all these tentacle stacks that have life and stuff too and everything. That's cool. But yeah, I mean, I could keep talking about this game forever, but pretty much with this game, I mean, it's super complex learning each character. When you play, you can't just bounce around with different characters. You need to stick with one of them and play them for a while.
I'm taking a look at the like the character sheets, and those are way more complex than Cloudspire.
That's what I was going to say next, because each character has, and like I said, they're plastic cards, and then it's like a size of a big piece of paper, and it's double-sided, and it has all the stuff that character can do, and all their abilities are so much stuff. That's why it's just pick a character or two and go with it. When I play this game to me needs to be 1 or 2. If you try to go any more than that, I think it just gets stupid after that point. So I play, playing with one character is almost too hard. So I play double characters solo. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals. I mean, it's a puzzly game. If you like puzzly, very strategic tactic games and stuff like that, it's good. And it's awesome, especially when you get all the characters that they've unlocked and all the extra stuff. It's one of the expansions even adds a whole bunch more encounter cards and stuff. So it makes that encounter card deck even, more unique as stuff goes. But yeah, I mean, this one right now debuted clear up at number 9. Even with that huge storage case that you do have, everything is magneted. So you use a magnet to pull out the drawers, and it's got all these nice plastic cases for all the dice characters and
it was supposed to be designed to stay in a Calyx shelf, right?
Yeah.
That's why the magnet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So it's something else, this one may just keep going up. They don't have a whole lot. They're not going to make a whole lot more for this game. There's a little bit of room left in the treasure trove case, what they call it. So, or the trove box. But so I think they're going to come out with a little bit more. But right now, I mean, there's a huge stack of neoprene for just the player mats, and all that stuff that's in there. So it's pretty cool. It's expensive game to get into, but it's to me, it's worth it for sure.
Neat. Yeah, I'm excited to eventually get all my stuff. They sent me the trove chest, and I was like, oh, neat. They must have put all my stuff in there. Nope.
It'd be like 60 pounds.
It's so fucking dumb. It's the other company. Like, there's 2 companies right now where it's like, oh, hey, like, you have to, like, you can back this game and then buy all of our other stuff. And then it's just like, okay, well, all the other stuff is already out. People have it. And they're like, ooh, no, actually, you have to wait till the new game actually gets made. This company did it, and Mindclash did it because I added stuff for Anachrony. And they're like, oh, you have to wait till Perseverance gets into you.
The cool thing about this company.
I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah. This company only charges $10 shipping no matter what you buy. You can buy as much as you want or as little as it's $10 shipping. So in order to keep that deal, I think that's how they explain it to people. Just like with this last Kickstarter for Burn Cycle, they did the same thing where you could go and buy anything off of there, but anything you bought from that wasn't going to come get until Burn Cycle, because then that's how they could just do $10 shipping. I don't know what.
Well, good for them and their nice shipping costs.
Yeah. So anyway, number 9, Too Many Bones. It's an awesome brain burning game.
All right. Well, Brad took too long talking about this one, so we don't have time to talk about the other ones.
Well, that's good, because the rest of yours is going to suck anyway. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like my number 8, which is new to the list. That's already been on your top 100. Yeah, my number 8 is, like I said, new to the list, and it is my favorite Blacklist game, and that is Street Masters. This was, I think, on your last segment, and you mentioned like
it was 14.
Yeah. So you were like, "Oh, I haven't. So it must be higher on your list." And I'm like, "It certainly is." This one, this is a theme that I do like. I very much like fighting games. Like I said, Street Fighter isn't my favorite, but out of all of the fighting things, it's probably second. And this incorporates that extremely well. There is so much content to this game. Every character has its own unique deck. Every stage that you fight on, and there's like a stack of stages, have their own unique deck. There's gangs and different affiliate evil organizations that have their unique deck. So it follows, once again, that modular deck system that you pick one person, you pick one stage, and you pick one boss, and then that's going to dictate how the game is going to go. And I think I like this one more because, 1, the theme, and 2, the sheer amount of content and how badass you feel like playing as. I mean, any character just feels like a badass, and they have, of course, characters that have varying levels of difficulty. And I remember when you and I played, you played the character that is essentially Ryu, the guy in the back. That's basically Ryu. And then I was playing in the lore is actually his like trainer, and he was just all about like sending weapons to people. He just had a bunch of weapons on him and equipping weapons to himself. And then Ryu is all about just punching hard and doing his Hadouken. It's not a Hadouken here, but it's pretty much that. But what's cool is that with this game, there's 3 different types of attacks. There's, I think there's 3. There's like kicks, punches, and then one more thing that I'm blanking on. But as you deal damage or take damage, you will gather these tokens, and then that's how you protect yourself from getting hit. So if you have 2 kick tokens and you take 2 kick damage, you block with those 2. And then over time, you actually will amass essentially a meter, and that will allow you to flip over your character card to their elite, fired up ability. And so it's just super fun, like maneuvering around of that different stage with those stage events. I mean, one of the ones that we did was that guy who was basically, he was a crime boss. And he just equipped body armor, and he would like throw grenades. And what's cool is like the stage events, for example, there's like a rogue grenade, and it's like you can actually spend a reaction to like throw it back. It's just, everything is innovative with this one, and I really like it. And I haven't tried the character mode. I really need to actually.
I haven't either. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's fun. It's probably just like a video game where you play a certain character and they have their own kind of little story arc. It's probably not going to be like mind-blowing doing it that way, but it's just so much fun, and the replayability there is just
dumb.
You can play whatever. You can mix. Yeah, you can just mix and match literally whatever. And I have the story, like the game compendium that has background on every character. And yeah, it's wild. So that's my number 8, Street Masters.
It was Grapple. That was the other.
Grapple. That's it. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
I was looking at it for you. I was like, what is it? I know what it is. And I think you made that comment about how much content there is for this. This is the only one of their games that actually had a second, like they did a second Kickstarter with a huge amount of stuff. Like Brook City still hasn't had its second Kickstarter.
Yeah.
with Alder Quest, of course, just came out.
Yeah.
So I think because this was their passion project, I think, like,
Yeah.
so I don't know if the other ones will get more stuff, but this one just has a metric crap ton,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it has, where is it? I think I have it stored somewhere. Yeah, I mean, it has its own storage box
Yeah, it's like the
for,
Aftershock box.
yeah, that's it. Oh, there it is. I see it. Yeah. And I mean, it holds everything. So that's great. So yeah, that's my number 8, Street Masters.
So my number 8 was number 5 2 years ago, was number 7 last year, fell just one spot. So pretty much same spot. And it was later on your list, and that is, gotta click it right, is Role Player.
Wow. I forgot how high this was for you.
Yeah, this one, the solo aspect of this is, I just love it because it's so simple to play. It's pretty much the same game. You can just sit down and roll through it.
Yeah.
And then they have the expansions do wonders for it. I'm, like we said before, Role Player Adventures is going to make this game even cooler, because then you're going to be creating this character knowing you're going to be you can take them on their adventures down the road and stuff. But yeah, having that big box now, the big box that came with the last Kickstarter, holds everything perfectly. If you have the wooden insert, it just makes it that much easier for setup. Just pop the stuff out and rock and roll. This game now, if you I don't think I would ever touch this game base box though, ever again. I mean, because it got old fast.
Right.
Base box. Yeah. But then throwing in the monsters one's a necessity. The other one almost is. I mean, it's just right there. But that having the monsters and minions was the perfect add-on for this. I like it. It's dice placement, just like we talked about when you went over it. And you're creating your player, just like a D&D character creation, but you're actually physically getting to do stuff to create it. And buying stuff, and it's this world that Keith came up with, and I only say Keith because I would butcher his last name.
Mateka.
Yeah,
I'm assuming the J is silent.
He's a really good guy though. I talked with him at Origins a couple years ago, and and they do so much cool stuff with this world. The only game that kind of faltered a little bit was Lock Up, and we both, I think, agreed on that.
Yeah.
But there's so much stuff with this right now. Your races and classes and all that good stuff, or races, I guess, that you can pick. What's cool is they have the male and female version on both sides, so you can even go that route. So there's just so much creation with this, and it's such an open, so much variety in creating your character and stuff that being able to use them in Role Player Adventures is just going to be outstanding, I think. So I don't see this.
Yeah, what's neat is, well, they added those player sheets, those character sheets, for whatever reason. Like, it was like they didn't do anything. And I mean, now they make sense, because it's like you have those, you'll write up your character, and then you'll have that for Role Player Adventures. So
right. Yeah.
I'm excited to see how the stories progress and how your own individual character works in that kind of game. I mean, what my ideal thing is that you play a 4-player game of Role Player, and then you could jump into an adventure.
Yeah.
You have your own D&D session without.
It just cracks me. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say I'm just excited to see how that works out.
Yeah, I remember playing this the one time with Chad, and he tried to make his character. He was the like the Hobbity type character over on the left side, the halfling, I guess. But he made that person like the weakest, saddest. Like he bought every card that was just totally like demeaning, and made him just a complete piece of And I would just love to see how that character like that would go into adventures.
Right. It's just
Just be
like
funny.
you'd be so useless.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, that's my number 8 role player. It's staying right around the same area, staying in the top 10.
Nice. Number 7 is right in the middle of where it was from a year and 2 years ago. Last year it was number 6, so it technically fell one spot, and then 2 years ago it was number 8. So it just keeps 6, 7, 8. And this is probably one of the darkest themed games that I actually have, and the cover art actually is pretty dark and grim as well, and that is This War of Mine. This War of Mine was Awakened Realms' I think first game into the tree, and basically I was hooked as soon as I saw it. It was one of the games that I backed relatively early on Kickstarter, and it's still in my collection. This is a brutally hard game, and the theming just compensates that for the source material that they're actually going for. If you don't know, this game is you are playing a group of people that are in a house in a war-torn city. So you're trying to survive each and every day of just horribleness, of bandits, of weather, of starvation, of misery, disease, all that stuff that's affecting these characters. And it fits the video game style in that you are not actually a character. You are the group is controlling 4 characters up to, well, I think you start with 3 and then you go up to 4, or maybe you start with 4 and you go up to 5. And you kind of as a group assign what people are doing. Hey, okay, we want this guy to actually build the bed. Then this person's kind of sick, so we're going to have him sleep in the bed. And then the rest of these people during night, they're going to go out on a raid. Oh, fuck, one of them got shot, so he's like level 3 wounded, and now he's about to freaking die unless we can stop him. Unless we can stop it from happening. And on top of all that, there's a book of scripts where as you're doing raids and exploring, you actually can read certain sections from this, which has been a theme in almost all their games, and something that I very much love about Awakened Realms. But it is a very dark game, but I have so much fun with it. The strategy of trying to survive and overcome the weather and because no one's ever in a perfect condition. Someone is always either hungry because you don't have enough food to go around. Someone is always, thirsty. Someone is always tired, miserable, sick, wounded, all of these status effects. Someone is always something. And eventually, because if people do die, then that actually affects the other characters. And there's a lot of expansions to this, a lot of mini expansions that you can add. Different ways of how you can explore. You can go into the sewers. You can deal with bandits. You can, there's a mini one that came where it was like you have a TV, and if you can get the TV working, then you can kind of sort through that. There's another expansion which involves kids. You have 2 kids with you, and you have to try and keep them happy. Otherwise, everyone's miserable. But if you can keep them happy, then everyone's a little bit better off. There's like a farm expansion. There's a bunch of stuff to this game, and I of course highly recommend it. It's been in my top 10 for the past 3 years, and I don't think. Oh no, actually, it was number 4 in 2017 because I have my sheet right here. So it's been in the top 10 for the past 4 years, just because of how rich they made it. And if you are even more interested in the theme, you can go on Board Game Geek, and there was a guy who did basically a blog over what this game's theme about which I believe is the Battle of, I don't want to say it just in case I'm wrong, but he details his growing up experience living in a war-torn siege, and he credits this game for being as great as it is, and he even says this game is fun, but in a almost gallows humor kind of morbid sense of fun, if you really want to dig into that. And I get it. Some people don't want to think about stuff like this, so they don't want to incorporate. They want to play fun games. They're playing games. But where I disagree is the fact where people say you cannot have fun for games like this. You absolutely can. You just have to be able to disconnect from reality into a game, and I cannot say that more enough for a game like this. So fantastic. If you want a great cooperative survival experience with a slight innovation of what they were trying to do for the tutorial, there's no real rule book. You just have a journal, and it's just like, all right, go through the journal, and it technically does teach you how to play. You do kind of go through it. But there's a lot of other deeper mechanisms in the game that you find through the book of scripts if you just happen to pass by them, which is not my preferred way to learn, but it is at least innovative in its own way. So that's my number 7, This War of Mine.
All right. Yeah, this was my honorable 101.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mainly because I just haven't played it as much, I mean, it's a pretty heavy, when I say heavy, I'm not meaning necessarily mechanically heavy, like emotionally heavy, kind of like what we were just talking about. It's a fun game. It's just, it's kind of doesn't get to the table because of the theme sometimes a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. At the end of the day, if you're like, man, fucking work sucked.
Right.
I just watched the news 2 days ago, and I just hate life. Okay, I'm gonna relax and play a game of This War of Mine. That's not happening.
Unless you just want to try to kill them off as fast as you can.
You know what? I'm gonna pretend these are people that I hate.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So
I get it.
My number 7 is the one that went up on this segment. It was 6 2 years ago. It was 11 last year. Went up to 7. It's just because I've been playing it more recently. It was on your list down a ways, and that's
nice.
Legendary, a Marvel deck building game. This one, I like deck builders. This one plays really cool solo, and I have everything for it except for the last expansion, the Kings. I don't have that one yet, but this one, the replayability on this game is just completely bonkers, with every damn villain and hero you could possibly imagine, and then throw in the fact that the whole scheme deck, you pick a scheme and there's got to be 150 schemes at least. I would think. I mean, and not like you said when you talked about this, not all of them are good, but they're all ways to play the game differently. So
that's true. Yeah.
It's just nuts, the combos but yeah, this one, choosing the 5 heroes. So there's just a ton of options there when you're choosing the 5 heroes, and then when you're choosing the mastermind and the villain group, and then the henchmen that go with it's just nuts. And a lot of those are already pre-chosen depending on what if you pick Loki, then it's going to tell you to pick the gods of Asgard and all that stuff, most likely, or whatever that's called. But yeah, this is just crazy pants as far as some of those deals. And then when Civil War, the big box Civil War expansion came out, it added the dual cards, which was a neat change too. If you could have an option of 2 different things to do, depending on what you needed. But yeah, it's just a great game. And I mean, there's so much stuff for it. You're never going to play it all. And there's some stuff I haven't even played yet. I just buy it, sleeve it, go.
I don't even think mine are sleeved yet.
Yeah.
The only thing I do is I buy, there's a guy on Board Game Geek. He does those dividers.
Mm-hmm.
I print those off on cardstock. But one thing, I don't know if I ever mentioned it, is that there's an app for the randomizer. And it's like, that's the best way to play. Unless, you could always just pick whoever you want to play. But if you're like, I don't really know, you can just click, all right, so now here's what we're doing. We have the hero, it's Colossus and Wolverine, Cyclops, Iceman, Joe Fixit, and Ruby Summers.
Oh, Jesus.
And they're fighting King Hulk. And it's like, and the scheme is Earthquake drains the ocean. And it just everything that you could play with.
And I guess I lied. I don't have everything for this game because I never bought the alternate core set with the actual like MCU movie art. The part. And there's a couple of characters in that are different, just to try to get people to buy it. but I haven't because I don't like the clip art. I still have Spider-Man Homecoming just because I'm a completionist,
Yeah.
but it's the only one that they've done with the clip art. But yeah, this one's it's just a great game that I mean, it just keeps going, you know. I mean, they keep coming out with stuff, and it's just
They have
nuts.
Realm, what was it? Realm for
Realm
the
of
Kings.
Kings. Yeah, that's the one I don't
In-
have yet.
okay, well, they have another one that's Into the Cosmos. I
I
think
have
that's the
that.
newest.
I have the
Oh,
Cosmos. I don't have the King. The Kings one's the newest one.
oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, and they've quit coming out with the big box expansions. They're coming out with two. There's still two sizes. There's the smaller ones like the Kings one, and the other stuff, and then there's one that's the same size box almost, but it's almost double the cards, which is like what the end of the Cosmos. They call them deluxe expansions, but they're all going to be small boxes, which I'm kind of sad about because I have all the big expansion boxes, and that's how I'm kind of sorting my cards. So now I'm running out of room quick. Have to come up with a new storage solution. But yeah, Marvel Legendary is a superb game, and it plays well with multiple people. Don't do the semi-cooperative part. That's stupid.
No, God, that's such a dumb idea.
I just play it. Don't even worry about the victory points. Just forget about that symbol.
Have you ever tried the Thanos one where he's trying to collect the Infinity Gems?
One time and one time only, and I got my ass handed to me, and that was about it. That's not even the hardest one. The
Really?
Galactus one is even harder than that with the Fantastic Four. I think it's Fantastic Four, but the Galactus set. I mean, he's just stupid.
Yeah.
But
all right, good choice.
Yep.
Real quick before I talk about my number 6 it was the Battle of Sarajevo, and I was gonna say that, but I wasn't 100% sure for this War of Mine. You can go on Board Game Geek and find it's a theme. It's called This War of Mine Review by Survivor of the Siege of Sarajevo, and he goes through. I mean, it's not even that like that long, but he basically gives a quick background of how old he was going through that, and he even has some pictures because I guess the box cover of This War of Mine is an actual picture that they ported over.
Really, I thought it was art. How about that?
You know, he sent me because I remember looking at he sent me like a picture. Oh well, I can't open it right now, but yeah. So if you want a pretty awesome review, probably the best written review I've ever read, definitely check that out. And at the very end, he says, "Clear message to the world," and it's a picture saying, "Stop killing people, you fucking twats." And I'm like, huh, yeah, that's a pretty good message.
Yeah, especially after last night.
Right? Yeah, Jesus Christ. Anyway, on a lighter note, let's go on to my number 6, which was number 3 last year and was number 3 in 2018. So it fell just slightly. And it was, I mean, it's just hard to get to the table as of right now because I'm going through basically the first scenario, and I'm doing it with a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And since I moved, we don't get to play as often as we'd like, but still top 10. And that is Seventh Continent. So Seventh Continent was oh my God, this game, whenever I first got it, I was just blown away by the amount of content and how great this actually is. Like, this is a feat in and of itself to have like all those cards, and as the cards are making the map, that other games are starting to do that. Because I mean, whenever you think of the amount of content in this and the amount of detail into the art and then the story and progression of the curse that you're going through, the price of the game is actually really low. Like, it's essentially a top-down world of all the cards, and then your miniatures are little meeples. You can have standees as well, but they're extremely tiny, and you're slowly moving throughout this map. It gives you a better sense of like perspective, I feel, with the little minis, and like the game is survival. You went to this continent, left, and then are drawn back in some way, or you find out that you're cursed, or whatever the initial scenario is. So then you go back to the continent and you're trying to figure out and lift the curse. I have only ever done the first curse because it just takes so long to actually play and go through. But it's pure sandbox. On the cards, there's like 4 or 5 different things that you can do. You can look at, or you can explore, and then if you have a certain item equipped, you can basically, like, for example, if you happen to have a torch and you go into a cave, it's like, okay, well, here's the card you look at if it's the original number, but if you have this symbol, which your torch has, you can add 10 to it. So then you find that card, and then it's like, oh, boom, you actually can see what is in the cave, and you just never know where you're going to run across. The map, the island is definitely out to get you, but it's not in a brutal way. It's in a more realistic way. It's like you're surviving, so you should probably hunt for food. And if you want to get more cards back out of the discard pile, you should probably cook that food. So you should make a fire. Expansions for the what goes up must come down. Added, a flight mechanism as well as weather that can change. Just the sheer scope of this game is fantastic. I love the idea of how you survive or succeed different challenges is based off you decide how many cards you want to draw. So that's kind of the action deck is kind of your character's energy into how much you want to put into it. So it's like, okay, well, here I'm trying to climb this tree that needs a skill value of or a total number of 5 stars. And you can have action cards that can benefit you for that. You can have items that can help, that can give you, some automatic stars. But let's say you just had none of that. You could be like, I'm going to draw 20 cards. And all right, well, you're definitely going to get 5 stars by doing that. But you spent a lot of time and a lot of effort. So you kind of have a push your luck, a risk reward system, because in the rule book, it tells you a percentage. Oh, you need 5 stars. Well, drawing 1 card, it's a 0%. You cannot do that. But then if you look at 4, it tells you 60. And you're like, that's not horrible. And you can risk it. So it's just really cool. I like that idea a lot. It has the same idea in a way to the Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth, where you're drawing cards from your deck to get successes instead of rolling dice. It's cool. This game comes with dice, but it's really just a tracker for the durability of your weapons. The only thing that's slightly unthematic is your weapon crafting, because you can combine, different items together, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna take, this stick and leaves, and that's now an item that I have that gives you different benefits elsewhere, and it's just like, well, what the fuck did I just make? So, but that's really, you're gonna have to suspend your disbelief in that regard, but everything else is just fantastic. There are so many different curses that will utilize these thousands upon thousands of cards, and yeah, it's just always like you're always involved, always intrigued into what's happening. Once again, this is a game that is beast, or at most with 4, 5, 6 people. Fuck that. Half the people are just gonna be sitting there because the game's free flowing. Anyone can do anything really at any given time. And it's like, nope, I want to be immersed. I want to focus with myself or with one other person to at least kind of share the experience with, but I will not go above that again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been obviously, top 10 for the past 3 years. It only fell because I haven't played it in a while, but I mean, I've played this probably the span of how long I've played this is probably equal to some of the other games that fell even further. This game is just so good that it only fell 3 spots because I just love the atmosphere and everything that goes with this game. So that's my number 6, The Seventh Continent.
Yeah, this was my 73.
Okay.
And it would be a lot higher. I just haven't played it a whole lot. I don't know why. I mean, It has
This
a
one was
cool it has a cool save system, like
Oh
so it'd be easy to just toss it back out. And I just for some reason it just doesn't hit the table.
right? Yeah, this one would be easier to hit the table than this War of Mine
Oh
because,
yeah.
I mean, it's yeah, that I forgot about that save system. That's a very legitimate bonus too. It's just like, all right, clean it up. All right, here's your deck. Here's your deck. Here's your items. Here's the card that you were on, and then boom.
Yep.
So it just has a really cool card system as well. So
All right.
get it played more.
All right. Well, my number 6 was number 3 2 years ago. Was number 2 last year.
Okay.
And this was the one, when you made that comment at the beginning of this video about if there was a fire and you had to take everything, like this one, there's just no way. And it's Shadows of Brimstone. I just have, there's just so much crap. I mean, I'm literally, it's all behind me. And I have 3 file folder cases full of tiles. I have a whole stack full of these cases with pre-built minis. That's not even counting the big minis that are in another place. And I have about 15 of these huge minis that are like, 10 to 12 inches tall. And all these boxes of tokens. And this game is just nuts with the content if you decide to go all in. It's and that's with I still have a whole nother damn Kickstarter coming here in the next year or two that's gonna load down with a bunch more crap. So this one fell from 2 to here just because this would be my equivalent. You talked about Twilight Imperium at one point and those big games like that, or doing a Hunt for the Ring, all that stuff, like a whole deal. This would be like that. Like you have to plan a whole day for this just because it takes up so much space. And we usually run it with about 4 people, the campaigns that we're going through right now. And it's just a hilarious game to play with a lot of people. You just go into just some of the stupid stuff that happens. And I think my character at one point, because you mutate, because you have the dark stone and it can cause you to mutate or other things happen. I think my character at one point, he's a bandito, a Mexican bandito his mini has dynamite in one hand and a bottle of whiskey in the other. And he had like 6 or 7 mutations on him. And right now I've cured some of them, but right now I have like another creature, another human coming out of my torso, like Total Recall style. And then I've bought a little handgun for him. So now I have like a little pistol for it's Quato. That's what he's called in Total Recall. But I have that, and I have stone skin, and I think I have horns, and it's just stupid stuff like that. But this game is just loony. It's roll to move. I know that's a thing. It's Flying Frog. But we've house ruled the roll to move where like if there's no monsters on the board, you've cleared out the room that we just kind of move.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just so much to this game, so many decks. I think the most unique thing with this game is there's 3 core sets that have come out so far, and then there's a bunch of like Otherworld box sets and all these other expansions and stuff. Well, what happens is like in the top left corner of that game box, there's like a portal. These portals pop up, and so when you pop a portal and you get ready to go through, then there's randomizer decks, and you'll pull out another Otherworld. So it can be anything. I mean, they have Otherworlds that are on a damn spaceship in outer space in the future. So you have cowboys jumping in and with lasers, guns, and all this stuff. Or you can go to, I use the feudal Japan as an Otherworld. So you're going to jump in and you go to feudal Japan, or you could go to, after this new Kickstarter comes out, you'll be going to like a Asgard type place. Or there's just tons of different stuff, and the weapons that go with those decks and everything are cool. So this is just kind of an open-ended crazy fest of stuff, and that's that. I mean, Shadows of Brimstone, it's Flying Frogs, cash cow. right now because of all the miniature sets that come out. That is just nuts, and they came out with this. This is a revised edition cover. I didn't get any of the revised edition stuff yet. Actually, I lie. I bought the revised edition upgrade kits that they came out with for both of the core sets. And it just didn't really change a whole lot. It just kind of upgraded some numbers and did some stuff. But yeah, other than that, my number 6, Shadows of Brimstone. It's always going to be on this list. It's just, as you'll see, I have 3 new games to the list coming up in my top 5. So it had to go somewhere.
This is a game that, I mean, whenever you describe it, it's just like, man, that sounds like a blast. And I just know I'll never buy it all. One, it's like impossible to find most of the stuff unless someone's selling all their, their whole collection for an absurd amount of money. But why should I have to own it? You own it.
Yeah,
I want to play it.
I have spent, I want to say somewhere probably about $3,000 to $3,500 on just Shadows of Brimstone stuff over the years. It's just ridiculous.
That is true, but I mean, you have a lot of stuff for it.
I have everything.
Virtually replayability.
Yeah, I have everything for it except for like a couple of the things that got released at their little private because they have a Dice Fest that Flying Frog does that they have some exclusives I didn't get, but other than that, I have everything.
Okay, neat. All right, my number 5. My number 5 is the last newest game in the top 100, and it is essentially an amalgamation of Dark Souls and Seventh Continent, and is a theme that I absolutely fell in love with, and I could not wait whenever I heard about it. And then I think I'm actually getting ready to get the Wave 2 stuff, which is everything else for it. So they're doing a pretty good job at getting people their stuff, and that is Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. And man, this game is so good. So take everything that I said about Seventh Continent with like the world exploration, the cards being the areas, unique things to see, do in these and on these cards, and instead of doing like like finding more cards, there's actually a book of scripts that you read and have different encounters on these cards. But so there's already that. Then you incorporate the fact that it is set in a extremely grim and dark King Arthur, like Arthurian Legends kind of world. And then on top of that, the overwaking weirdness that is encroaching the land, that you have to light these menhirs to keep the darkness at bay. So essentially the bonfires in Dark Souls. And so the menhir, a lot of people find that is actually a tedious mechanism to have, where you are having to constantly light these. I like it. I think it adds a sense of urgency. So whenever you light it, there's a dial of how long it's lasting, and then once it goes out, then the surrounding cards vanish. So if you need to travel back, then you're coming back and you're like, oh shit, okay, I can't walk through that. So I will. So you have to light the nearest beacon and then light those out to get back to the other one. I mean, this game is just gorgeous in artwork. The fact that you have 2 different decks, that you're deck building, a combat deck and a diplomacy deck, to go in different directions of how you're talking to some people. Like you can have a diplomatic challenge with others to try and get them to either calm down if they're being extremely aggressive, or to persuade them to let you go through. And how well you do allows you to get into a place, or lets you prevent from combat from happening. And then combat is another thing when you're fighting these monsters. And it's like, I mean, the card system, I very much enjoy how basically whenever you play a card that has an ability, and then whenever you play another card, you like touch the edges together, and it gives you bonuses that might let you play another card, or give you a ×2 to a success, and get because you're trying to get basically these red cubes, and a certain number of red cubes will let you do a certain thing to whatever you're fighting. Similar situation with kind of the diplomacy. There's a track that you go up and down. It's kind of a tug of war aspect. I really, really love this game. And I I mean, there's like 14 chapters, I think, in the base game, and I think I'm on chapter 5 or 6. I was doing a solo run through, and then just everything happened, and I'll eventually get back to it to continue the series for the channel. But it is, I mean, invigorating. Every chapter is tense, and you get to explore, and there's things that you can't touch, and you make decisions of the campaign of how it's going to progress because there's different setup depending on what you did in the previous chapter. It is just, I mean, what else can I say? This is Awaken Realms' best game. Like, to me, it is like, I have this one. This War of Mine was 2 games back, and then crap, what was their other one? Etherfields. Etherfields was somewhere in the Etherfields was 53. So they just knock it out of the park. And I mean, there's all the characters have different starting decks, so the characters play different. How you interact with others is different, and whenever you like rest, you can potentially have nightmares or dreams that will affect you, and there's a lot going on. And then if you want to give it a shot, they have a video game on Steam that it's not this game. Like it's another, I think it's like a prologue or something to this. So it's its own fleshed out video game that wasn't it's not like an app, where it's like, oh hey, Street Masters, the app. It's the board game. Nope, like there's more story to this. So, and it's not bad. I did a run through for that on the channel to whenever it was in beta, and I know they've done a lot more to it since then. So yeah, that is my number 5, Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon.
This is one that I missed out on the Kickstarter for, that I kind of wish I would have stuck with, because it does look cool, has unique theme and stuff. I don't know why I didn't end up backing it, but
I couldn't tell you why.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I want to play it for sure at some point. I'll probably buy it at some point. It's just
right.
It's expensive.
Yeah, I have. I've only ever played this as a one-player game, so I don't know how it works with 2. Probably similar to Tainted or to Seventh Continent, where it's probably max 2. Because I mean, there's nothing keeping anyone from, like, you don't have to stay together. You can just, okay, I'm gonna go down here, you go up there, and we'll try and solve this chapter. But I do like how it is chapter driven. That makes it way easier, 1, for a series, and 2, for a game session. Like Seventh Continent, you can just keep going until you feel like stopping. Here it's like, okay, well, let's finish out the chapter, and then we'll decide if we want to continue doing the chapter. So yeah, the writing, I think, is actually really good too, and there's a lot of side quests you can even do, and the item management, it's just, everything just works for this game. So I really like it.
I will give it a shot at some point, I'm sure, because I've only ever played, the only Awaken Realms game I've ever played is this War of Mine. That's the only one I've ever messed with. So
right.
All right. So
mine has it as 158 people say it's best with 1, and 157 people say it's best with 2.
Okay, so just pretty well 1 or 2.
Yeah, and then I even forgot Nemesis. I always forget Nemesis was them as well, and Nemesis is later on my list at the same time. So yeah, Tainted Grail is my favorite Awaken Realms game.
That'll work. All right, so my number 5 is new to the list. It has been out for a few years. It was one of those games that I played, I disliked. It made some of my disliked lists. I'm clumping in the kind of standalone expansion / whatever game with this, and so it's made one hell of a turnaround from being not even remotely on my list to being number 5, and that's Gloomhaven. The Jaws of the Lion expansion single-handedly turned the tide on this game for me. just because of those first 5 missions and teaching you how to do it. Like, because the first time I played the original Gloomhaven was with 2 or 3 other guys, and it was just the hand management I couldn't wrap my head around. I was just salty after playing a few scenarios, and I don't know if it was the guys I was playing with or what, you know. But then the Jaws of the Lion, the way it teaches that hand management, because that was always the thing I hated. Hand management of this game just pissed me off. And then doing the Jaws of the Lion taught me how to handle it, how it's more of a puzzle, each scenario, to use your cards wisely, to do different stuff. I immediately, after we played through that stuff, I went and I bought the core box for the 3rd time, mind you, because I had owned it 2 times before this and sold it without even playing it. Bought it the 3rd time, and now where I'm sitting, I have Gloomhaven all over the tables all the way around me, because that's the way I find to get it played the most. I just have it all stacked out, organized on table. I think I've played about 35-ish scenarios so far, which I know there's still quite a bit to go. That's just what makes it easy. You know, I play a couple scenarios, I set up the next one, and then I just leave it on the table. So I just come downstairs, play it, and keep going. This game is just nuts with Isaac Childress. I don't know how in the hell he did this and got it all put into one box and everything. He did that expansion that I haven't messed with yet. And then to come out with that Jaws of the Lion, to have that foresight to come out with that, he didn't have to. I mean, shit, he sold so many copies of Gloomhaven anyway. And then the Kickstarter for Frosthaven broke records. So it's just like, hey, I think I'm going to come out with a deal and try to catch some of these people that may think that Gloomhaven is too complex. And I'm one of those people that it picked up, and I don't know. It's just this world that he created. I'm so excited for Frosthaven because they're even adding some more cool stuff to that, using the Foreteller app to where they do have professional actors reading the stuff with all the background noises and everything. It's just, even for Jaws of the Lion, those ones that we were doing, they just make it sound nasty. Like that one where there was all that black sludge and everything, and it was just like, yeah. So, you know, it's, you know, and we're doing that playthrough of Jaws of the Lion for your channel and stuff that we need to get back to. Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling this is higher on your list, but
no, it completely fell off.
I know you haven't said anything yet about it. But
game now, I'm where you're at.
But anyway, again, these games in the top 10 I could talk about forever. So I'll let you finish it up when you talk about it again here in just a little bit. But yeah, my number 5 is Gloomhaven. It's my highest debut so far until we get a little higher.
I was hoping this was your number 1. You've played it more than what your number 1 probably is.
Yes, I have played this one more than my number 1. There's another one that I've actually played more than this year, just this year.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So we'll see.
All right. My number 4 is one of the best cooperative games that I actually have. I truly think it is the best cooperative game, but there's a few others that are a little bit higher when everything is all things considered. In 2019, it was number 9, so it has gone up. That might have been helpful because I have recently played it, and I also got the latest Kickstarter for it. And in 2018, it was number 5, so it's actually gone up both. And that is Spirit Island. Spirit Island is a game that you actually sold, much to my depression. I'm like, why? It's such a good game. This game is so good. The theme is so neat. The fact that you are playing a spirit protecting the island from, regular invaders, or you could give them an actual like theme, like a country to where to scale the difficulty based off who you pick, because some of them are easier than others. But the fact that there are a huge amount of different spirits that you can play that level up in different ways and have unique island or unique spirit powers, and then the way that you cooperate in this game makes everyone extremely useful. Someone is doing something at every time to combo with another person. Because of the idea that they do with fast and slow powers, the fact that it's the phases go in like, okay, so you get your energy, which you need to spend to play cards, and then and your presence around on the map, and that is extremely strategic and doing. And then fast powers go, so whenever you pay for your cards, and it's like, okay, whoever has fast powers, they can go in any order and try and combo. And then the invaders will do their thing. They will build out new buildings, which take a bunch of damage. They will explore, so they'll spread out on the map, and then they will basically blight the land as they continue to do their shitty invader things. And you lose whenever there's a certain number of blight on the island. And then after they're doing everything, you get to do the slow powers. And the slow powers are typically the strongest ones, but trying to organize and use everyone's special abilities, their special island cards, the powers that they're getting, because there's minor and major powers that you're trying to combine with each other. It's just you're intently focused the entire game, trying to figure out the best combination to stop the invaders from doing what they're doing, because you can see exactly what the invaders are going to do. You can see they're going to move in the mountains, they're going to build in jungles, and they're going to attack in deserts. So it's like, can we stop any of this? How can we take the least amount of damage? And over the course of the game, you're essentially, what you're doing is you're scaring them. You're getting fear tokens added on, and then the more fear you have, you get fear cards, which are beneficial to the spirits. And depending on because there's level 1, 2s, and 3s, depending on which level you're in, the stronger the fear. That's them getting a lot more scared of what is actually happening on this island. Why did my whole crew just wander into the fucking river and drown? Like, I've never seen water act like that before. They just started killing each other. I don't know what's going on. It is incredibly thematic. The Jagged Earth, I think it was called Jagged Earth.
Yeah.
Expansion added so many unique spirits. One of them because I did a new run through for Spirit Island, and the latest one, I was like, oh, I'm gonna play this spirit. I looked on the back, and it was like difficulty extreme or something, and I was like, fuck that. It was basically a build your own spirit. That's kind of
right.
How, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna pick this one. And then Cat was like a flock of birds. The names for all the spirits are really cool. And what was neat is, like, if you look at the spirit with all the birds, I thought it was just birds, but it actually makes like a face, the shape of a face. And I was like, oh, that's neat. There's just so much going on for this game, and I absolutely love it. So it's my number 4, Spirit Island.
The bottom left of that box cover says it all.
The cooperative settler destruction strategy. Yeah, that's true. There you go. I should have just said that. Should have just, my number 4 is Spirit Island, the cooperative settler destruction strategy game. All right, Brad, what's your number 4?
No, this one's good. It was just one that, like, I enjoyed playing this, like, with another person, because you do need to have more than one spirit to kind of bounce off of each other. And when I play it solo, like, unlike a lot of the cooperative games that I play where you can play two things, this one's really complex with trying to keep track of 2 spirits and stuff. So it just never hit the table, just because it was pretty heavy, like, as far as the trying to run 2 characters at once and stuff. So that's why, like, if I had a second person that enjoy, to play it with, which you have everything, so you're probably the person I would play it with if we played it, because I'd play the hell out of this game. It's just, his solo aspect wasn't as good as I was hoping. All right, so my number 4 used to be my number 1 back in the day. Not so like I think the first list we made or the first 2 lists we made, it was my number 1.
Oh, okay.
So it was number 2 2 years ago. It was number 4 last year. So it stayed in the exact same place as it did last year. And that is Five Tribes.
Okay.
This one was on your list a little ways back.
Yep.
This one has always, this one has just always done. It's always captured my love of gaming, just because of the way all the decisions you can make, the thinkiness of it, knowing that, trying to figure out where to pick up those meeples and place them to do the most successful deal. This game does lend itself to a lot of AP for certain players, just because they sit there and really try to nickel and dime the most efficient point thing. But you can't, and the reason it does that is because of the Mancala thing. You can't think ahead, because if one person moves and if they drop one token off on a deal that the path you were expecting, then it just screws your whole plan up. But this one pretty much does the thing like you said when you talked about earlier. You're going to pick up all the meeples, different colored meeples on a tile. You're going to lay one on each tile as you move, and then the last tile you stop at, whatever that color is that you do, you get to take all those meeples and do whatever the ability is, whether it's assassinate another meeple from another area, or gather money from deals, or buy something from the market, or whatever. There's a lot of stuff, and all the expansions that have come out for this have really added a lot of cool stuff. I know the first time we played it, I bought this one particular gin that was pretty powerful with like the buildings and stuff. Or no, it was one that just lets me just drop a camel on a tile. Like if I spin something, I could just go and drop. But so you have all these points, and everything is worth points in this. Like your money that you have is, if you have 20 coins at the end of the game, that's 20 points. So when you buy something or you bid, because you bid for player order, you're bidding victory points for all intents and purposes. So there's a lot of thinking to this. Player order is important, especially if there's a really juicy setup for you and everything. But yeah, and I don't know. I think they're probably done with this game. There hasn't been any expansions for a couple of years.
I would think so.
Yeah, but still, of all the Days of Wonder games that I could think of, I mean, I know like Ticket to Ride has the most sales and all that stuff, but this one I think is the best overall. Obviously, since it's number 4 on my list, I don't think I have Ticket to Ride or Memoir 44 or anything up higher, but yeah, Bruno Cathala, being the designer, has done a ton of stuff, and this is just a top-notch game that's always going to be up here towards the top. Five Tribes.
Awesome. Yeah, this is a good one. It was my number 38.
Okay.
So it's up there. All right. My number 3 is one that you just talked about pretty much. It was 2 spaces away.
Okay.
I was once again really hoping it was my number 4. It was number 2 last year, and it was number 2 in 2018. So it actually ended up falling 1 space, and that is Gloomhaven.
Yep.
So Gloomhaven is, of course, a masterpiece in gaming. The sheer amount of content you get in a game like this, and for the price you pay, is just it's amazing. Because like, take KDM for example, which is not on my list, which is wild because I can see it. It was 22 last year, and now it's not even on the list at all. But take a base game of KDM for $400, and you pay a fourth of the cost here, and you get 3 times the amount of content with a rich, unique world. Every character and every race is new and innovative, and you kind of learn about what they are as you're playing. The I mean, at the end of the day, it's a dungeon crawl, but it is a Euro dungeon crawl that doesn't rely too much on dice and just sheer amount of numbers, where you're just bogged down by the same enemy over and over. Every scenario you go on is a one that you have actively decided to go do to progress the story in a branching path of what you are ultimately aiming to do. The Whenever you are playing your character, every character is different. Every character, I mean, with their starting decks and then how they level up, or how they level up really the same way, but when you level up, the different cards that they get to put into your deck is just amazing. Like, I love the innovation with these characters and how you combine them with other characters. I mean, I essentially have 3 campaigns going. I have my own, which has the Inox and the Sorceress. I have the one with you for Jaws of the Lion, which of course has the what was it, Luciferian Bloodlord as well, and then Harley Boom Boom, or Harley Booms. So it's like a red guard that uses like a sickle, like a flaming sickle, and then Harley, not Harley Quinn. I don't know what her actual title was. But
she's
like
the demolitionist.
Yeah. And she like has like rocket fists. And then the other one that I'm doing has, I think, my friend playing the Inox and I'm playing the Tinkerer. And it's just so much fun. Like, playing, I mean, even going through Gloomhaven again is a blast, because the city events and road events are a little bit different. If you have different characters, you can decide how you want to play. If you want to, I mean, one of the biggest decisions that will probably dictate what you can and can't do happens after like 5 scenarios. And it's, oh God, the world map I really like. Like, that's like the one time I enjoy stickers, is because you can place the cut, like the map is a map. I mean, it's black and white pretty much. And then you place the stickers exactly where they need to go.
You wouldn't want to see my board.
I would burn your board. It's just like, I'm so meticulous. Like, they have the lines, and luckily for some of the stickers, like if they go on like a like dotted line, you can see that like in the sticker, so you can kind of place it, and then it's colored, and then you can mark those and be like, okay, I've been there. So good, so good.
Something I forgot to talk about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to talk about the retirement factor. You know, like,
oh yeah,
you love these characters, and I retired one, and I'm on the process of retiring my second, and you get so attached to these characters. It's like, damn it, I don't want to complete that career deal and have to pick somebody else. You know, it's just one of those things that it's rough. And Frosthaven's going to actually put them, because what happens now when you retire a character, they have a special card dealing with that character that you'll put into the city event deck and the road event deck.
That's cool.
Right now,
at least something.
Right, but Frosthaven is actually going to put them as a location in the town, like they've opened up a shop or something. So I'm kind of curious how they're going to do with that. Just to kind of keep them a little. You can stay attached to them a little bit, you know. And I think that was a cool aspect of that.
I still have my starting 2 in Gloomhaven, because one of them, because you pick a card when you set up a character, and that's their life goal. That's what they're trying to do. And once you complete that, then they eventually retire. But one of mine was, my Inox guard has to kill one of every elemental, and then my sorceress has to kill like 8 forest imps. But the way I'm playing, I haven't come across any forest imps, so she's still around. And then I actively made decisions, because he only has to kill 1 sun guard, and I was like, no, you don't get to kill him.
My issue was the 2 that I picked, or the 2 that I had. The first one that retired was like, do 3, or it was either 3 or 4 missions in Gloomhaven. Well, shit, the storyline does that pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, with different stuff. And then my other one that started was complete missions in the forest, Dagger Forest. And again,
Okay.
some of the stuff takes you that way. So it's like the storyline kind of branches into there, and then you really can't control what happens. So those happen, but in a way, it's kind of nice once you get over the fact you're losing your characters, because then you just get to open more characters. And
Yeah, and there's a bunch in there, and I only know the five, like the five starting ones. I don't know any of the other ones. No, that's not true. I did open one more because I finally paid, like, I completed one of those town goals.
you got the Sun
And
Guard, right?
yep,
Yep.
Oh, spoiler, I guess that's one of the characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, they don't know what that means, and who knows? People who are playing this game probably have opened all of them anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic RPG game that you definitely get your money's worth. I will say though, get the broken token and get some sort of insert, because
Unless you have table space.
I guess, yeah, but even then it's like when you eventually, I mean, I wouldn't want to keep the game is set up all the time, but I also have cats and they'll fuck everything up.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
I love the way combat works in this game. The fact that it's a deck of cards that you get to craft and basically deck build as you level up. You theme it more to the character based off completing personal or not like secret objectives during the mission, and also by leveling up. It's so cool. I mean, you're always going to have a miss, and you're always going to have a ×2 in there. And certain scenarios will give you more misses, or you can, donate money to the church and get more blessings, which are more ×2s. So you have ways to mitigate that. So it's basically, it almost feels like you're rolling a d20, and it's like you pull the miss. It's like, well, there's my 1. You get the hit. There's my 20, and it's always exciting. I love this game. So that's my number 3, Gloomhaven.
Perfect. My number 3 was on your list, I believe, the last segment, the 11 through 20. This is my favorite. It's new to the list. It is my favorite LCG at this point, because the solo play of this game is just nuts, and that is Marvel Champions.
Nice.
I
wasn't
hope
on your list last year.
No, it wasn't on yours. Actually, it wasn't on yours last year either, I think, because I think you were wondering why, because I think it came out like right around November, December. I don't think we had played it enough to justify it or something. But
Gotcha.
anyway, yeah, I mean, they could just, as far as I'm concerned, they can just keep coming out with stuff for this forever, because it's so well done and so smooth, and the way they release the decks, where it's just a pre-made deck already, because you don't have to go out and own everything like you do on a lot of stuff. Even with Arkham LCG, another one that I've considered, the cooperative, those are stories. Those cycles are connected story. I from what I understand, this one you just buy heroes, buy villains. You don't have to own everything. If you don't like Miss Marvel, don't buy Miss Marvel. It's you can pick and choose, and then you get the scenario boxes, the Rise of Red Skull, that just brings enough story into it, and brings probably the most important thing of that was just dropping 5 new bad guys right in your lap, and it just adds. It just multiplies the amount of games that you can play and different stuff. And then I don't know if you brought this up when you talked about this game or not, but the scaling of difficulty is another big thing with this. Like, you could just play it. You could just play it normal, or if you start whooping up too much, if you build too good of a deck or whatever, you could just go up to extreme levels of difficulty. So again, that's the replayability. I mean, it almost like a video game when you play it just on normal mode and you beat it. It's like, I'm going to go through and play it in extreme mode, and see what happens. It's just, there's just so much cool stuff with this. And being somebody that has always done the LCGs and loves deck construction, I toy around, I think, with deck construction probably more than you do. trying to build. I do a lot of building with this, because each character comes with their 15 cards, and then you just pick an aspect and just load up with whatever you want in it, and this is going to be ultimately playable. Wasp should be coming here within the next week or two, and we'll see how that team up action works with Ant-Man. But yeah, this one is just a superb design, and I'm glad that they decided to come out with this. The game design is Michael Boggs. He was the guy that was working on Netrunner at the very end, before Netrunner got pulled out from under him. So Nate French helped with that too. So I mean, but Michael Boggs was the lead Netrunner designer for the last year of the game. So anyway, this is just nuts. They've gotten a cash cow right here as well, and maybe that's why they're not making any other fucking games or keep doing anything else. But this is just the top notch one, Great solo game.
I can see this game. It was my number 17.
Okay.
I can see it climbing even higher with the packs, as long as they keep supporting it. And then it's just going to keep either staying in the top 20 or even inch up even more. So yeah, fantastic game.
And they do a wise thing with this, because they come out with 6 months worth of releases and announce them all at once. So it keeps people they announce, maybe 4 heroes and then a box, or 4 heroes and then a scenario pack. It's they announce way ahead, and they do it kind of cool on their site, because they do it's like a shadow of the art, and it's who the hell is that? And everybody's guessing, who the fuck?
Is that Batman? Yeah. Why would that be Batman?
It's just so it's just one of those cool things that if they keep doing stuff like that and keep people on the hook, unlike a lot of their other LCGs that failed, then this one's just and cooperative / solo LCGs are kind of the way to go. Just like Arkham is so popular, and this one is going. I think those are probably the 2 biggest selling LCGs at this point, obviously, because I think L5R is the other one, and I don't know how much longer that's going.
They're still releasing stuff, so it must have legs somewhere.
Yeah. So
the L5R. Have you played the L5R LCG?
I watched a playthrough once, and it did, because I don't like the Asian stuff like that.
Oh, that's right. Well, so I've done the L5R RPG, and it's really good. The game, the 1v1 game is solid. It's just pretty complex for a competitive game. It's one that I wouldn't get into, but they do something pretty cool where the winner of their L5R tournament, that has some significance of what happened in there affects the role-playing game.
Gotcha.
So I think pretty cool idea to always keep the RPG fresh. So
yeah. So but yeah. So my number 3, Marvel Champions.
Speaking of living card, I don't know why I said that.
Is that your number 2?
My number 2 is you can go ahead. Is Arkham Horror, the card game.
There you go.
I didn't even need to lead up into this. I know you kept bringing it up, and I was just yep, it's coming up. This is by far my favorite Arkham Horror game. It is just so much fun. The fact that it is an LCG and each pack is a continuation of a box cycle, a story cycle. I mean, it's not as the barrier to entry to this one is a lot harder than Marvel Champions, because like you said, I hate She-Hulk. Okay, well, don't buy She-Hulk. Here, you can. I mean, I guess you could just not get a cycle, but if you're man, I really like the new Innsmouth cycle, I'll get that core set. Well, that one has 3 missions, and most of them usually have 6, so then you have to find and buy the next 6 standalone packs. But each pack comes with more regular cards, to throw into the different types of genres. So the blue, green, red, orange, and purple decks. It comes with more of that. This one is so much fun. It extremely feels like a progression system in its campaign, where each cycle is kind of its own standalone story. Uh, I know for the run through we did, we kept our two characters as from one scenario to another, and I would not recommend that. You are beat up by by the end of it, my character had like 5 starting insanity. He had 5 sanity traumas, and he had a maximum of 6. So once you hit that threshold, you get pulled out of the story. So I had to basically start the game and drink a bunch of whiskey, take a bunch of pill cards to reduce my sanity, and then I'm like, all right, now I'm ready.
Right.
Man, it's so good. How they're able to incorporate so much theme and story in a card game, I will never know. But you will, from the very get-go, you will feel unique. Your deck will play completely different. You will have your own role like any other Arkham game in what you are best at. And then from story to story, literally from like the first scenario to the second one, you get like points, like essentially victory points, depending on how well you did. And then you spend those to upgrade your deck. And you can only ever take cards from a certain type. Like if I'm playing Roland Banks on the back, I can only take cards from the blue deck, or like level 1 to 2 of the orange deck, and then basic cards. So your deck construction as you're progressing in the story is limited, and I think that's extremely manageable, instead of kind of like Marvel, where it's like, okay, I can just make any deck, with Spider-Man, I'll just make him protection, and I'll just build a deck out of that, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But going through a campaign, the limited nature, you just know, okay, I'm Roland Banks, hand me the blue cards, and I'll just search through those. And you have to keep a certain deck size, and then whenever you're beating each scenario, how well you do will dictate, the next story. And I really, really like that. I have so much stuff for this. I'm pretty sure I have everything for it, except like their one spin-off where it was like a troll deck of like Barkham Horror. I don't think I got that. They even have side missions, like standalone side scenarios that you can just build a deck and play. Like I've played through the first full set, and then the Dunwich Horror one, and then I'm starting the third one, which I want to say is Path of the Serpent, but they have like 8 total scenarios out, maybe even more, as well as they've done like Return to series, where it's like, okay, we'll return to the Night of the Zealot, which was the very first scenario, and that will change, like it has unique cards of what's different going back to that campaign. There is so much stuff for this, and it sucks because the Team Covenant fucking ran out of Arkham Horror like subscriptions. So now I have to sit around and wait like a peasant and try and find it, because Fantasy Flight just sucks ass with keeping stuff in stock.
Were you already getting them from Covenant?
I was, but at the time, like I think I just I didn't have the money on the credit card, and so it's like, okay. So then they're just like, all right, well, we'll give it to someone else, and I'm like, well, that's fair, but like, why? I don't know why they're out of subscriptions. I've never heard of that.
Well, they can only get so many at that time from FFG. Like they've told before, they can only get so many packs at once for their level of distributor or store, and then they just max out.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I'll get them. I mean, I'm not even close to even getting caught up, but this is, I mean, I have to buy a third crate, like a wooden crate to house everything. So with the way I organize it, there's just so much to this game, and I love it. So I don't know if I mentioned it, but in 2019 it was number 14, and in 2018 it was number 7. So now it's climbed up to my number 2. So that is that Arkham Horror, the card game.
I would absolutely love to get into this game. Like, this is being the soloist. I owned the core set a long time ago, and that was all I had, and I never really messed with it. That was before I kind of really started getting into the Cthulhu stuff. yeah, the barrier of entry of this game is just too, especially since they're out of stock on everything. I almost pulled the trigger with that one guy, but he wanted way too much for it.
Some people really jack up the price. I mean, the last one you sent me a picture of, I think, was actually a decent price. 'Cause, I
Yeah.
mean, each box set I think is like $30. Each pack is 15. And then like some people have play mats for it, and then others have like different types of like chits for it.
Mhm.
So you can definitely bougie this game up. I don't. All my cards are sleeved,
Yeah.
and I have the wooden case, and then the broken token insert for that. But other than that, I haven't really upgraded it.
Yeah, that guy, because he wanted to trade it, and I decided I was going to give him Kemet and all of my Journeys of Middle Earth stuff
Wow.
for what he had, and he wanted all that plus like $150 or something like that. And I was like, nope, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I will probably eventually get this if I can find a good deal at some point. But the longer I wait, the longer I'm behind the eight ball, and that's a problem with this kind of release style. Yeah, with LCGs. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I really would want to play this. I've watched playthroughs and I watch people play this game, and it looks fun as hell. It's so. All right. So my number 2, I know what your number 1 is now. You're gonna know what my number 1 probably is after hearing this. But my number 2 is new to the list. This is my most played game of the past year. COVID helped with that. I love this game. It's my very favorite Cthulhu game in all the land, and that is Cthulhu Death May Die. This game, I bought the retail versions of everything that was out retail, and then I spent a nice penny to get the Kickstarter exclusives box. I don't have the huge mini. Don't want the huge mini. There's no real point for the cost. But this game it's cooperative. I play it solo most of the time, but me and Chad play it 2-player quite often as well. This one, and we've actually even played it over Zoom.
Nice.
As well. But this one is really cool, and I can't remember what number it was for you. But this one, it's cool because there's, especially if you have that Kickstarter box. God, I don't even know if it's 50, 60 heroes you can choose from. And then there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 Elder Gods out right now. And then there's a ton of episodes. So you choose an episode, you choose an Elder God, you choose your heroes. You're going to mix the deck of cards from the Elder God and the episode. Each episode is different in style, but they all have the same ABC deal. So it's like you need to do this to disrupt the ritual, which brings the Elder God out so you can damage him. Because if you are slow on that, there's kind of a timer aspect where the Elder God will come out, and if it comes out before you disrupt the ritual, you can't hurt him, and he'll just wreck you until you disrupt the ritual. So it'll always start one way, you disrupt the ritual, then you have to defeat him. This game is all built on a timer. Every single one of these gods have a way of making you more and more insane. Obviously, it's Cthulhu, which, with what you said, the more insane you get, the more powerful you get. But if that track goes all the way to the end, game over for you. And so there's it's dice resolution on hits and stuff. There's ways to re-roll the dice by spending sanity, not sanity. Can't think of the deal right now.
Remember what
you have health, sanity. health and something, and then the top track is your sanity, I believe. But anyway, so you can do some dice rerolls that way. That's very strategic in this because you can move, and in a lot of miniatures games like this, you move and you have to stop, or you have to do an escape roll to get away from the bad guys. This one, if you're going to move you can move right past bad guys, but they follow you. So you can, like, if one of my abilities on one of my characters was just a total all damage. You do melee, it just hurts everything around you. So like I would purposefully move a bunch, drag all these things into one room, and then just annihilate them. So, and each character is different when you level them up. Super powerful your characters get as you go. But they need to come out with more content, I think. As much as I play this, I mean, I don't get bored with what they have, because they're still one of the elder gods that I've never beaten. Not even come close to beating them. But it's just a superb game that when it was on Kickstarter, I was like, I don't want to do this. I mean, it's like, this doesn't look like a very good game and all that stuff. And then kept hearing people talk about how good it was. That's why I went and bought it. It's Eric Lang and Rob Davio, just like we talked about. It's got great design. And this is, God, I've probably played this game. When quarantine first hit, I was probably playing this game 3 or 4 times a day, solo. So it's definitely gotten more plays than anything that I have. So yeah, my number 2 is Cthulhu: Death May Die.
All right, and finally our number 1, which my number 1 was number 1 last year, and it was number 1 the year before, and it was number 1 the year before. So nothing has changed. Hey, at least my game, it keeps getting expansions. I don't know why your number 1 is still what it is, but
it probably won't be there much longer.
You know what my number 1 is?
I do. You ready? It's Scythe.
Yeah, Scythe is my number 1 game of all time. And it's so weird because I couldn't quite explain why this game does it for me more than it does for other people. I love the world. I love the art. I just love all the mechanisms that are happening in this game. The different avenues to victory. The solo mode is superb. The different factions with their different mech abilities. And then on top of all that, every single expansion for it has been solid. Like the Invaders from Afar, those 2 factions are great. The Wind's Gambit, it just added those flying airships and then has like air conflicts, and then a passive ability that's going on with those airships that increase maneuverability. The different encounters that you have with your character, and then the options that you can get with resource management and money management, which is points really at the end of the game. The fact that combat is kind of like a bluff your opponent, because you know for a fact they can only ever do up to 7 power, and you have a hand of cards, and it's like, okay, well, so they can potentially do 12 because there's 5s in that. So that's how much they could do right now. But would they? Do they really want to win that bad? And then you play a card, and if you have more mechs or your character in there, you can play more cards to try and add up to try and win. And whenever you lose in combat, I mean, if they attack you, I mean, yeah, you have to leave the area. And if they send workers back, then it's like, well, they lose popularity. Everything in Scythe has a double-edged sword to it with what you're doing. So it's like, okay, well, like, you can hoard resources, but that's kind of going to make you a target because resources never come off the map. It all stays in those hexes. So
Right.
It's like, okay, they have a lot of stone there, or a lot of iron. I'm going to go and attack them. and just, yeah, I'll lose 3 popularity for doing that, but they have 8 steel, which I can use to build mechs. The fact that your combinations of your top and bottom actions are going to be different depending on the way that the tiles come out. Is just great. Like, as you pick a spot, and then you can do a top action or a bottom action, and and you can't do that same action again. Well, there's a faction that can, but that means they're not doing something else. It's just, I mean, it's fantastic. The Rise of Fenris expansion was an actual campaign that progressed for, I want to say, 8 games. And it was just so good. And then by the end of that, which I'm not going to spoil anything, but I guess this might be a slight spoiler, it becomes a modular expansion. And so, which is my favorite type of expansion in any type of gaming. And so it's like, okay, well, everything that was brought and introduced into this game can now be incorporated just, willy-nilly with whatever you liked best. You can just throw that into the game. I don't know. It just works. So yeah, it's still my number one. Like, it keeps getting played. The breath of fresh air. It looks great on the board. I have all the metal mechs. Like, I bought and paid for those metal mechs that for each of the factions.
How much those cost you?
I don't remember. I actually don't. I don't remember how much those actually.
I was just gonna say, now seeing you can pay $150 to get the Unspeakable box. Just like,
Yeah, but that's true. That is true. But see, this is number 1, and Cthulhu Death May Die was number 27.
Yeah, that's true.
Cthulhu keeps creeping up, then we'll talk.
This was my 156.
Okay.
And
at least it's still considered.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, I don't know. Like, I love the world, and I love the art and all that stuff. There's just something about the game that just didn't click with me. I just don't know.
I paid $200.
Gotcha.
Because they were $50 for the full set, which is still not that bad because they're not like cheap metal. So I need to get these mechs painted. I don't know why I didn't just have them painted. So it's so good. It's so good. So that's my number 1, Scythe.
All right. So you know what mine is. It's been number 1 the last 2 years.
I am legitimately shocked, though.
I'll tell you right now, and I'm going to go ahead and just it's Orleans. Okay. Yeah. Now, when I was making this, and I did the Pub Meeple stuff, I don't know. It was such a coin flip because how close it was amongst my top 3 with Marvel Champions and Death May Die and this. I honestly, this may be the last year for this up here, just because those other games have climbed so much. This one I have played several times this year, so that's why I think it kind of stayed up here, because I've really gotten into the solo aspect of this, playing that solo cooperative mode that's really challenging. And I've actually gotten it to the table with people. This is another one that I've been able to do over Zoom. A little trickier, but because there's a lot of stuff on the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one, this will probably be its last year here. But anyway, this one is one you and Kat introduced to me a couple of years ago. It's bag building, which is one I love. Bag building stuff. All the things you can do with this, as far as nabbing the technologies. That's one of those cool things, that's getting the technologies and having your very own tile that you can use if you get lucky. Because being able to go through that stack and choose the one you want is a very powerful, because you can take advantage. You can look out on the roads and the rivers and be like, okay, there's a lot of like silk out there. So, I'm going to get this silk factory and just start loading the hell up on it. You know, and there's a lot of different. I do agree with you, and that's one of the other reasons why this is probably going to start sliding, is because there is a powerful action part of this game, getting the citizens that which multiply, you know, with your buildings and all that stuff. There's so many ways and things to do on this game, though. I have tried multiple aspects. I've really went heavy in the fisherman stuff, or heavy in one, you know, do different things just to see, because this is one of those games that I explore a lot to try to see if there are things that you don't think are as powerful as they actually are. I finally bought an organizer for this. I bought one of the folded space, the foam core organizers, and it actually works with this version, but it only holds the base box stuff, which is the problem. But I needed to organize it because it was driving me crazy. But anyway, I don't know what else to really say about this. You know, it's one of those games that kind of struck a nerve with me. I really enjoyed it, but I think it's had its time, and this is probably the last year, because there's a lot of cool stuff coming out that is nipping on its heels big time. So anyway, my number one is Orleans.
It was the same one for me with Scythe and Arkham and Gloomhaven. Those three were kind of any given day. It just depends on the mood. But it's like I had to be more objective with kind of what was going on, and it's like I don't know, like they're just fantastic games. Orleans, for the record, was 65 for me, so it's still relatively up there. And I ended up getting finally the deluxe box.
Yeah, I need to get that.
It stores everything, but I had to buy some guy's deluxe box and then sell my my original box. But yeah, so
I was just gonna say, if this one hadn't hit the table as much this year, it wouldn't be number one. That's just why. That's the only reason it kind of kept that standing.
Yeah.
So.
I was really hoping Gloomhaven would jump at number one. I know that's still impressive. All right, everyone, that is our top 100 games of all time. The 10 through 1 segment. Real quick, I am going to go over all the games that Brad and I mentioned that we need to try. So hopefully in the next 100, these games might be in here. Because Brad and I mean, how many games have I shown you that ended up being like great games, and then
it's worked that way. And I've shown you a couple that have bounced around.
Right. So, all right. So we have Francis Drake for me, Amerigo for me, Sorcerer City for me, Dark Rituals for you, Volfirion for you, Star Wars Destiny for me, Caverna for me, Baseball Highlights 2045 for me, Subterra for you, Black Orchestra for you, War of the Ring for you, Robinson Crusoe for you, Run Fight or Die for me, Star Wars Outer Rim for me, Rajas of the Ganges for me, Enchanters Overlords for you, Heathens for me, Detective City of Angels for you, Seven Wonders Duel with its expansion for me, Elder Sign with expansions for me, Era Medieval Age for me, Reichbusters Project Vril for you, Eldritch Horror for you, Blood Bowl Team Manager for me, Millennium Blades for you, Anachrony for you, Tricarion for you, Deep Madness for you, and Arkham Horror LCG for you. So those are the new games that we each need to try based off our top 100. So I'm excited to get them. And that is it, everyone. At the time of this recording, I don't know if I'm going to do it yet, so it just depends on how I'm feeling at any given point in time, but keep an eye out for our top 50 worst games of all time. Brad and I have decided to do a 5-segment session of that. We will be talking about the worst games that we have ever played. That'll probably just be a one-time thing. I can't see that list changing too drastically like our top 100 can. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed our top 100 games of all time this year. And like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.